Greetings and happy Independence Day from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry. Today on July 4th, this is the day we celebrate the birth of our nation. And I thought it would be appropriate to give honor and tribute to an American artist who also celebrated America in the most delightful way, and that is the art of Charles Wysocki. Wysocki was a very prolific artist, and I discovered him in the 1980s. His work was published with calendars and cards, greeting cards and jigsaw puzzles and any number of items, and also became available in books such as this beautiful book put out by Greenwich Press. Charles Wysocki portrayed America in its early days and at its very, very best. Allow me to quote from Charles Wysocki. "I'm a proud American, and my desire is to stress the positive images of our country and its people. The American flag flies high in most of my paintings." And this is so true when you look at his beautiful idealized paintings of all the good things and all the persnickety detail of America's past, from coast to coast, from New England to the West to Alaska, all through this country and through the South and the Midwest. Charles Wysocki's paintings absolutely express the joy and wonder of American life in the early days. Charles Wysocki had a profound effect on my own work when I was back working in more of a folk art style. I love his persnickety detail on every single painting. You can see thousands of little things, humor, goodwill, and joy in every single piece of work, and he produced hundreds and hundreds of paintings. When I look back at this work and I look at this marvelous book, I am still so impressed with the abundance of his work. He was so prolific, and all the wonderful, just the happy feeling you get when looking at each piece. Wysocki had great success with his art, especially in the 1980s, the 1990s. Okay, go away, Napoleon. I remember doing shows. Charles Wysocki himself wasn't there. He was way too famous to be doing art shows. But his representative, I think it was Lang, that sold his calendars and his card, but they would always have a booth. There was always a line of people waiting to purchase his wonderful work. And you can see why it's just so joyful and fun. So during the time when I was concentrating a lot on early American folk art and doing a lot of paper cutting and Scherenschnitte, I did a lot of Americana scenes. That was my forte, and really, he was absolutely my inspiration for my work. Of course, I never ever could get close to anything like he did. But I think he really created a new genre because a lot of people after him started sort of imitating his style, and you would see a lot of different artists using the same particular look. Sort of the primitive flat buildings, the sort of like flat-looking people. Although he was a fine artist, actually, he deliberately painted in, I wouldn't even call this a primitive style. Grandma Moses would be a primitive style, but these are absolutely refined. This is refined folk art, and really, really wonderful. You can see by this particular painting, Charles Wysocki was a fine artist, capable of painting in the traditional style. He chose to paint in a more naive style such as this. But you know, it really isn't so much the style of the painting, it's what he painted. Let me quote again from this book and from Charles Wysocki himself. He said, "I feel the greatness and beauty of America, and in it an endless source of inspiration for my paintings." It's with warmth and whimsy that Charles Wysocki created this idyllic world of early 19th century America. And of course it's idealized. Of course nothing was ever this perfect. Nothing ever is this perfect. But it's sort of like when you think about a lot of English paintings and you see little thatched cottages with little perfect little gardens all around them. Well, that's also an idealized style of painting of England, because truly those that lived in little thatched cottages didn't have an easy life at all. And often these people, early Americans, it came with a lot of hard work and industry and a lot of suffering and pain. His work is an idealized version and a wonderful and joyous portrayal of early American life. And personally, I actually really love it to this very day. I don't know how popular Charles Wysocki would be today in today's climate and atmosphere. I have no idea. But I am still a huge fan of Charles Wysocki. I'll list these books in the description below, so you can find them if you'd like. This is the Charles Wysocki Americana Cookbook. I've used this before. And actually, as you can see these peaches on the front, I am very anxious to go make a peach cobbler, but I have a tree full of peaches and what I believe to be an almost perfect peach right here. Now this one is so nice, except for this little spot right here. It is such a beautiful peach. This is not something I want to cut up. I want to take a bite into this peach right now, and then I'm going to go in the house. And I'm going to prepare some peach and blueberry cobbler for our tea on the 4th of July. So before I go in the house and whip up a cobbler, let me take you around Kizzys Garden here, which was the garden in the last video that I was still working on, and just show you a few things that have been done. Over the last couple of days, I have been building these tunnels to protect all my young plants in this Kizzys Garden here, because I had a lot of things from my greenhouse that I was able to put in here. And of course, with all those chickens running around, and now you know we have 5 new babies, and they have been in this garden constantly. And I had to protect my plants while they grow until they get to an age where they can take care of themselves. But right now, they're pretty young. These are, calendulas. I've got dahlias in here. And I also sprinkled some globe amaranth seed. So I looked at these tunnels online, and they were quite expensive. So using things that we just had around here, I decided to make my own. This is very strong wire here. This is garden wire. Some of it's rabbit wire, mesh wire. Very stiff and strong. You need tin snips to cut this, or wire cutters. And then I simply bent them into tunnels, and I supported them with an extra strong wire hoop, and then attached the mesh on the end for the end caps using florist wire, or any kind of wire that you can just string in and out to attach those end caps. And these, actually, they don't look too bad, and they're protecting my plants really well. On this one, I used the smaller mesh, and this would be great for cabbages and broccoli to keep those little blue butterflies from coming in and laying their eggs in here and producing some cabbage moths that you don't want, cabbage larvae that you don't want. But you can see already how they've protected my little seedlings here. I've got all kinds of zinnias coming up, sprinkled from seed. Just a couple days ago, actually. And you can plant zinnias all summer long, also sunflowers. But these are the empty spots in Kizzys Garden that we showed in the last video. And finished off the walkway. It's very pretty. I was telling James, it's so pleasant. There's a nice breeze coming through here. It's fairly shady most of the day on the lawn out there. Out there on that lawn. Got a lot of big trees. It's nice and shady, but I'd really like to be able to enjoy this garden a little bit more than we do. But we didn't have anywhere to sit aside from the bench that I built a couple years ago. So I was trying to figure out a way to get some seating back here on the back lawn so that we could really enjoy this garden a little bit more off. Well, the other day we were driving past one of the local antique shops, and I don't go there very often anymore because I really don't need anything. But I had an intuition to stop, and I'm so glad I did. There they had a great set of outdoor wicker. The love seat, the chair, and the small table to the side were marked from $150 down to $100. What a deal. For the time being, I just have them covered in some vinyl cushions, which I haven't even stitched together yet. I'm going to find something more attractive than that, but that's all I have for now. This table actually didn't come with it. I owned this table already, but this 3-piece set I think is fantastic for $100, and it's in excellent shape. There's absolutely no flaws except for this little bit here on the leg and a little bit of wear right here on the corner, which looks like a cat's been scratching it or something like that. But I'm pretty excited to have this because what a great place to sit. It's comfortable, it's right here on the lawn, and it can look out on Kizzys Garden. A pretty good deal at just the right. Into the oven, 400-degree oven for 30 minutes. So we're just going to have our breakfast, a very small breakfast here with tea and cobbler, peach cobbler, out here in Kizzys Garden. Get to look out on this lovely, lovely garden. We've got ducks and geese and chickens running around. It's really kind of nice to be here. Our charming little colonial teapot here is made by Lennox in the USA. It's actually a Liverpool teapot. It's a reproduction of an 18th century English teapot from the Smithsonian Institute collection. Our dinnerware today is from the Royal China Company in the United States. These were produced in 1948 in Sebring, Ohio, and these were all based on Currier and Ives lithographs. And for those of you familiar with Currier and Ives, they were making prints from 1836 to 1907 in New York City. They produced thousands and thousands of wonderful, wonderful prints of American life. And they call themselves the Grand Central Depot of cheap and popular prints. Now, generally, these, for the most part, the Royal China Company in Ohio did not put a back stamp on their dinnerware. But in this case, we do have a back stamp on the large dinner plate. And this is called the Old Grist Mill. Each one had a name. So the dinner plates were the Old Grist Mill. The salad dishes were Washington's birthplace, and this one does not have a back stamp. The cups were called Star of the Road, and the saucers, Low Watermark, Mississippi. I don't know the name of this little plate, but it looks to me like it should be called the Gleaners. And once again, no back stamp on this plate. So if you have a set of these and they don't have a back stamp, that would be typical of this company. And here we have a locomotive on the creamer. Now they had teapots and sugar bowls and all of that, but I only brought out this bit because it's all we need for this little 4th of July breakfast that James and I are having out here in Kizzys Garden. For our breakfast tea, we have a selection of teas here from the Boston Tea Sampler. And this is by Solstice Tea Traders. And we have a number of different teas here. There are many different selections of tea here. We've got several different black teas. And we've got a green tea. And these were the teas that were dumped in the harbor, the Boston Harbor, in the Boston Tea Party. I have a long tea with our cobbler on this 4th of July. The Peach Cobbler came from the Betty Crocker Picture Cookbook. This is from 1950, and this was actually my mother's copy, as you can see. It's been used quite a bit, used by her all throughout those years, and it's also been used by me. A beautiful little cobbler. I forgot to add blueberries, so I'm going to put some in right now. With some creamer or some ice cream on top. And I like to serve this cold on a hot summer day like this. Of course, right now we've got a beautiful breeze coming through here. That's another nice thing about this area. Just got a beautiful breeze coming through. And it's probably one of the coolest temperature-wise places in the whole yard. So I'm happy to have that. So thank you for joining me on this Independence Day art tour, small garden tour, and tea. And once again, I'd like to quote from the late Charles Wysocki. He said, "I am deeply concerned with life. I live in today's world, but find great strength in what the past has given to me. The essence of nostalgia is a yearning toward remembered joys." So, as a grateful American, on this day, I'd like to wish you, wherever you are in the world, a wonderful day, and God bless you all. From Hopalong Hollow, this is Jerry. We'll see you next time.